going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Chasing Dreams podcast, episode 74. We are recording here on a beautiful Saturday evening.
Yes.
Which is rare because usually it's Saturday mornings lately.
I had to work today, so.
Yeah. And you were up at what hour to do that?
I got up at 3 o'clock.
Yeah, see, I lifted at 6 today. Well, roughly about 6:30 by the time we kind of got in there. Plan was to start at 6, which is when the gym opens. So It's weird because I was talking about this today, how when you get into a routine, the more regimented you are with anything in life, but especially when it's like morning time and wake up time, you kind of get like, I don't want to say like you get, anxiety, but it's bothersome, at least to me, when I get off of that. And so like we started, at 6 o'clock or 6:30, and we're used to starting at 5 o'clock because the gym opens an hour later on Saturday, and it completely throws me. Right. Like I'm in there lifting, or finishing up my workout, and the sun's out now. Mm-hmm. It's not really daylight per se, but there's a little bit of light. Whereas normally, I'm in there, trained, potentially train a client, shower, and on my way to school.
Right.
And the sun's still not up yet. So it kind of like throws my day off a little bit. But I can see that my circadian rhythm is kind of pretty well regulated because I woke up right about the time that I would normally wake up. I set my alarm a little bit later, but right about 4 o'clock, 3:45, that range, I woke up and my body just kind of like slowly started to stir at that hour. Looked at my phone, and sure enough, that's what time it was. So.
I think it's cool. Wow. Once you do something for so long, it just becomes habit, even when you're asleep.
Yeah. The best I ever got it was in college. There was a semester, it was my senior year. My first semester of my senior year, right before I did my student teaching full time, I had this, I didn't really have any morning class. I think my earliest class was like maybe 9:30. Because I think campus started classes at 8 and I didn't have any 8 a.m.s. At least that I can remember, I didn't. But regardless, I got up in the morning and went to the gym every morning at like 4 or 5. I can't remember the exact time. But I had no other obligations that would like pull from that. Right. I woke up every morning, went to the gym. And I would drive there because I lived off campus. And I would pick up my training partner and we would go there first thing in the morning. And then eventually, after doing that for just a couple months, I didn't even need an alarm clock. Like I would actually go to bed without setting an alarm clock and would wake up at essentially the exact same time every single day.
Right.
It was awesome because I'd never had that happen before, and to actually see it in play, you're like, holy cow, this is great when you can regulate things that smoothly.
Right. And it's crazy. So like before I started my weight loss journey, I always had like 15 alarms on my phone and actual physical alarm clocks and everything. And I've always got up, like, for the last 8 years, I've got up pretty much the exact same time every day.
Yeah.
Because of work. But since I started my, like, losing weight and becoming healthy and eating correctly and living healthier, I don't even need, like, I set one alarm as, like, a, just in case.
Mm-hmm.
Just that, I forgot. Like, my body just had a brain fart. But I just get up. Like, it's weird when you're healthy and everything works right and you're used to something. It's just normal.
Well, I have that conversation a lot. I'm just telling people when your body functions, just when you give the body the things that it's supposed to have, it's amazing what it does with it. When you give it the proper hydration, when you give it the proper foods, when you give it the proper supplementation when necessary, it's amazing how efficient and how intelligently designed your body is to putting those things to use the way they're supposed to be used. I mean, we've said it before on the podcast, and it's a conversation that you and I had not that long ago, but when we were kind of going through this process initially, like I would always tell you, you don't feel good yet because you always say how good you feel. And I said, no, you just feel better than what you did, but you're nowhere near as good as you will eventually feel when you're,
optimal
400 pounds or 350 pounds or whatever, the next goal was. And,
it's crazy to think that as good as I feel now, I still don't feel good.
Yeah. There's always going to be a better position that you'll be in physically as far as well-being goes.
Right.
And then the mentality too. I think.
Mentally, physically, emotionally, everything just keeps improving.
Well, there's like so much synergy there between, how your body functions and how your brain thinks
Yeah.
and how your emotions feel. There's so much synergy where those are all directly correlated with one another that, it's no surprise that when your body goes to crap, basically everything does. The minds, the emotions. It's been played out numerous times. I've seen it happen with clients, both on the positive side trending upwards and then on the negative side trending downwards. It's not uncommon at all. It's something that people just generally accept as something they deal with all the time. So speaking of mind and body and everything running together, how's your side of things been?
Good. Real good.
You've been having balance between fatherhood and training and work and all that stuff?
Figuring the balance out. Most days it's good. We had a really late night the other night, so the last 3 days have been kind of a blur because I haven't slept in a couple days. So, like, literally, physically haven't slept, but maybe 5 hours in the last 3 days. So, yeah, the balance is good. I think with the new workout that me and you talked about, that new blend of cardio and strength, kind of circuit, kind of not circuity, but I like that idea. So we're going to see how that goes for a while. I think that's going to help me blend because it's more like, as much as I've focused on time management for the last few years, that was all like practice, like, because now it's real. Like, you really have to be able to manage your time if you're going to be successful at being a father and successfully, like, have a weight loss journey, or any kind of, like, extracurricular journey.
Well, I feel like there's a difference between having time management because you want to and having time management because you need to.
Yeah.
So, like, we talked about it before on a previous episode specifically, that I remember I mentioned having the amount of clients that I have.
Yeah.
And I had said to you that if I was in this position, several months ago or a year or two ago, I'd say, well, I wouldn't be able to handle that much workload. There's no way that I would be able to get myself to be that efficient. Whereas, kind of you're in the same boat with, you think that you have no time, and, then you get more and more time taken away. It kind of makes you realize that there is a lot more time than we think that there is.
Yeah.
So, I'm guilty of that too, saying, I have no time. And it's like, well, I'm sure I do have time because I can always find ways to overlap stuff. Like, it sounds silly, but I do, as of late, I've been really focusing on it is like with my client contact, because it's hard to text, because the only time that I would have what you would, kind of, it's still a misnomer, but what closely resembles free time would be when I'm driving, like from place to place. So I do a lot of voice text messages, not voice to text, but like the actual voice message where I hold the button down, record my voice talking to them, because it's almost like a phone call, and it's a little bit more efficient because I know it gets to them. Yeah. Whereas sometimes I can call someone, they don't answer, they're busy, whatever, then we play phone tag. Whereas that's just a quick message and then it's done. So, like, I do that when I'm driving.
Yeah.
So there's always a way to overlap things, and it makes you realize that you really have more time than you think you do, because you can always look back in hindsight and recognize that at an earlier point in life, like whether it's professional or recreational or whatever, you always had more time before than you do now.
Right.
Back when you thought you had no time.
Exactly. So, like, and I know that, and it's funny that you have a way, and now I now have a way I'm, like, getting better at my time management.
Yeah.
My phone tells me every week, your screen time is down this much or up this much and it tells you where you use it. That's something cool I think the iPhone does. I don't know if they all do it or not, but it's like a trend. Like, every week since she's been born, my screen time is down, because I literally physically don't have time to be on my phone, like, as much. And that my wife's going to listen to this and say that I'm crazy because I'm always on my phone. But I feel like it's when I'm on my phone, it's productive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm researching something, or I'm reading something, or listening to a podcast or a book or something.
Well, I'm in the same boat, more or less, because mine is a necessary tool for me for, posting training footage and, networking with people and talking to clients and scheduling people in and sending client updates and emails. It's like I honest to God would not be able to do what I do without my phone.
Right.
Like, I have to. It's funny because, like, I always feel like I have to give this disclaimer to people. Like, if I go to dinner with someone, I always say, hey, I may be on my phone, but it's not because, I'm not interested in the conversation. And it's not that I'm trying to like be rude or be disrespectful of the time that we're spending together. It's just I have to have these things done in a timely manner, so I have no choice. If I got to go to dinner, I got to have my phone out.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to get away from that. There was one day in particular that I can remember that I decided to leave my phone off. It was like Easter weekend, and it was this. I believe it was a Saturday before Easter, if I'm not mistaken. And I touched base with everybody that I felt like that I needed to touch base with that day, and said, "Hey, my phone's going off till the evening." And I didn't. I had my phone off for probably the better part of 12 hours, which for me is absolutely unheard of. I can't be off of it for 10 minutes,
right?
12 minutes, let alone 10 to 12 hours. So it was very liberating. I felt very free, but there was also that sense of anxiety that came along with like,
I bet you it's like almost like the not being at home thing.
Yeah, it's exactly like that. Yeah. Like, what am I missing? I just feel like I need to be on there. And I don't feel like I do a lot of scroll time. I know that people say like the big one is like Instagram and Facebook, like just idle time where you realize you're just scrolling through there. Like when I'm on Instagram, I try to be productive with it. Like I do post a lot of videos, and I try to, comment on my clients' things and respond to people who comment on my stuff. Like it seems trivial, but I think that it goes a long way. So like I said, it's a necessity for me, but at the same time, I think that I could probably do it a little bit less or just become more efficient with it or whatever. I mean, it's constant.
Would it be fair to say it's a necessary evil?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the technology in general, I think I like it because it makes things easier, makes us be able to be more efficient, but it makes us reliant. A lot of we're always reliant on technology anymore, and I just feel like it's a necessary evil, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I think that like as you go on, you realize that technology can be like kind of a double-edged sword. It could either be the greatest saver of time or the biggest waster or consumer of time. Like I've been doing a lot of I kind of want to say preemptive research or preemptive planning, where I'm not really putting it into action yet. I'm just trying to kind of create a course of action plan before I kind of execute of how I can make things more efficient for me from like a training side. Right. So when you look at my in the gym clients, like I have a lot of athletes that I train, and I just got 2 new ones next week that are starting. So like it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Right.
Literally every week almost. And I don't want to say get a break, but it slows down a little bit from time to time with certain people because of sports.
Right. And
heaven forbid something were to happen where their sports were shut down, but the gym wasn't, I wouldn't be able to do it because there'd be too many people.
Yeah.
So I'm looking for ways or planning for ways that I can make things more efficient. Like I'm kind of experimenting with 2 of these apps for people to go in and schedule time slots, because I've said before that a large chunk of my Sundays is spent communicating with people and figuring out times for training for the whole week. And there's a lot of overload or overlapping times as far as when people would like to get in. And then, you have to say, hey, so-and-so wants to get in. Could I maybe bump you back a little bit so they can fit in here? Well, no, because we have this dinner with our fam. So it's like a constant back and forth where I would just like a little bit less of the pressure, in the sense of
almost like a self-schedule for people.
Yeah, where they would just go on to my app or the link, and I would have certain times blocked off. And when they request a certain time to train at the gym, it blocks it off once they sign up, and I would just re-release it, every Sunday or whatever.
It's not a bad idea.
So
I bet you that works well.
Yeah,
and it's gonna, like you said, it's gonna free up your Sunday rather you move your meal prep time around, or it's just gonna free up a big block of window.
Well, because the Sunday, a big block of time. I mean, it's like that in and of itself. I know that this sounds like hyperbole, but I'm not exaggerating. Like it's probably about a 10-hour task.
Oh, I can imagine.
Because I have so many people, and it's
a runaround.
A lot of it's like, waiting on response time. Like so-and-so wants to train Tuesday. Well, I normally have this person on Tuesday, and they said they might not be able to come. So then I can replace Johnny for Mary, because Mary might not be able to make it on Tuesday. She said she's going to let me know, but I got to wait a couple hours till Mary finally gets back to me and let me know, or whatever. And then, you throw in the middleman being parents, or the student athlete is generally the middleman, because a lot of my athlete or a lot of my clients are kids.
Right.
So then I have to communicate with parents too, because some of them are too young to drive yet. So like,
Yep.
you know, you got to schedule rides and make sure that the parents can drop them off at that time or whatever.
Parents, grandparents. There's just probably so many working parts that
There are. And it would be a lot easier for me and a lot less stressful for me if I could, you know, just put in an app and say, hey, go sign up for whatever time you want. And I wash my hands, because a lot of it, to be fair, is first come, first serve anyway. But
Right.
the first come is predicated on who I text first.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so the way I try to do it is I always try to get the people, quote, out of the way that are scheduled for specific times pretty much every week.
Right.
Like every Tuesday, Thursday, you know, at 5:30, I have this person. Every Wednesday at 2:30, I have this person.
Right.
Every Monday and Friday, you know, so I get those ones out of the way first, just to make sure that their time slots are still their time slots for the week, and I don't have any additional openings that I didn't expect. Once they're all done, then I go to the ones that are not in sports, because they don't have any schedules. Like because right now it's spring sports, so if they're not, you know, running track or playing baseball, then they should be largely free for the most part.
Right.
So then I'll go in and get those people set up. And then the last kind of like tier that I contact are my people that are currently in sports, to see what their schedule is like for the week, when their practices are, when their games are, and see, you know, if we can fit them in. And then, to be honest, if we should fit them in.
Right.
Because
How they
sometimes
feel, too.
it taps into recovery, and, you know, the schedule is very fluid and flexible. So like, you know, I have that conversation a lot with the clients, is like, hey, just because you can make it here doesn't mean you should.
Right.
Like if you have practice and games 6 out of the 7 days, it may not be beneficial for you to come on that 7th day. It may be best for you to stay home and relax.
Take a rest. Yeah.
So it's a lot, but that's kind of what I've been doing lately, is trying to look into, as far as the time management side goes, like looking into ways that I can continue to make things more efficient. Because I said that was one of my goals for the new year, in January or December, whenever we had our episode talking about our New Year's resolutions, and then we reviewed it once after that. Well, this is kind of like a quarterly review.
Yeah.
In a sense, me looking back and saying I've started that process. You know, I haven't put it into action yet, but I am looking for ways. You know, like I started developing the website, or I started having the website developed for me.
Right.
So the parts are in place for the most part. We're getting them. We're getting the soldiers ready for battle, so to speak.
Yeah.
But we haven't, like, you know, given the signals to go yet.
Yeah. There's no actions being taken.
A lot of behind the scenes crap that goes on.
Absolutely. You know? As with everything, you know, with every venture you get into, there's so much behind the scenes to make the show go on.
Yeah.
You know, like it's fun to watch like how it's made when it comes to like movies and stuff. Even though I don't watch a whole lot of movies, I still like to watch like how they're shot.
Yeah.
Like, especially big action movies. You know, you see a car chase or a racing scene or something, and then you watch how that's shot or how that's filmed. It's incredible how much stuff's behind the scenes, and that's just like an analogy to everything.
Yeah,
there's just so much stuff that's going on behind the scenes of everything, and people ask me all the time, how you have time to train all these people, because I have people that will watch your story, your Instagram story, just because it's cool. They're like, how does he have time to train like this many kids every day? And it's like a lot of work. Yeah. It's like a lot of work to make that hour of training happen. Like I always tell them, I don't honestly know, because like I don't understand how he does it either sometimes, because there's hours that lead up to planning and your own training and your own stuff that you have mixed in with it. It's crazy.
And there's a lot of like overlap too, kind of like how I talk about like with the car.
Yeah.
Like doing things productive in the car. Not that I'm suggesting that people should be
sending
emails or texting or whatever. But even if it's a phone call, like reaching out to a client to have like a conference call with like a business partner or something, there's ways to overlap. And I try to do that in my training, where at the very least, when one's finished, one's coming in. But in most instances, I'm able to get, you know, 1 or 2 kids who, depending on how many I'm training at that given time, warming up, because they go through a very thorough warm up that's, you know, laid out for them. They know exactly what to do and how to do it. So I don't have to babysit them through that. So I can be finishing up a training. They're doing, a 20-minute warm up. And then as soon as their warm up's done, we're right and ready to go.
It just sounds like it's a well-oiled machine.
It's like experience though. Like I didn't know how to manage my time and I didn't know how to manage that big of a caseload of clients, whether it's online or in person or balancing 3 jobs. Like I didn't know that ahead of time. I just had to kind of experience it. It's like you with being a dad.
Exactly.
Like
yes.
People can give you all the advice in the world, like say, hey, Justin, this is, what it's going to be like. But like you've probably done you do more learning on the fatherhood side of things in a day than you probably learned months and months and months combined leading up to it, trying to get ready.
Mm-hmm. It was like, 100%. Like you can read all the new parent books, you can have all the theories, you can have all the thoughts, but until you put it into action and try to execute those pre-planned things, you don't realize that you don't learn until you do.
Yeah, for sure.
And you just don't. Like I thought I had a really solid plan, and then she had other plans. Yeah. She was like, yeah, that's cute, Dad. Appreciate that. But this is what we're going to do.
Things my way.
Yeah. She's the little tiny boss for sure.
Well, I want to go to a commercial break here. That's a good stopping point for us. And when we come back, I want to talk about some future endeavors of the Chasing Dreams podcast, because this is something that I wanted to bring up to you at some point. And I feel like doing it on air would probably be a good point to talk about it, so then everybody can see kind of the open dialogue that goes into like making the show and planning for the show and stuff like that. So let's go to a commercial break and we'll talk about that when we come back.
As listeners of the Chasing Dreams podcast, we know that you demand the highest quality at all times. If you're interested in quality, look no further than Beast Mode Baking. Beast Mode Baking aims to bring the highest quality, creative, and of course delicious baked goods to your home with nationwide shipping. All orders need to be pre-ordered to ensure they're packed fresh and shipped out to you as soon as possible. Beast Mode Baking offers a flat rate of $15 for shipping due to the size and weight of the cookies and doughs. So if you're interested in Beast Mode Baking, please contact CEO Shannon Knorr. That's at SKNORR13 on Instagram and order your delicious baked goods today, because every time you support them, you're supporting the podcast as well.
And we are back from our commercial break. So prior to the break, I said that I wanted to kind of do some planning for future endeavors of the podcast with you. And I thought that this would be kind of a good platform to talk about the podcast is on the podcast.
Right.
So it's been a while, and this is a good thing in a sense. I feel like you and I have gotten so much comfort out of like doing these, I don't want to say solo episodes because there are 2 of us, but just us.
Yeah, just us.
Where we have the dialogue that goes back and forth, and I feel like we have good rapport with each other because of our friendship that superseded the podcast and came before it and preceded it and whatever. But I think that we should really get back to trying to bring on some guests too. And I felt like initially when we started, at least for me, I felt obligated. I felt like we were obligated to get guests to come on really regularly, only because, and it wasn't like a comfort thing for me, but I felt like no one wants to hear me. They want to hear the guests. So let's make sure that we don't have like all these filler episodes where it's just us. Now, the ironic part of that is like there are people out there that tell me a lot of the reasons they listen to it is because of us and not necessarily just because of the great guests we have on, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I think to get back to the foundational roots of the show in general, which was you and I looking for answers on how to be successful, I think we need to continue to interview some more people. So one of the things that I wanted to do is, and we can do this in social media too, and I've done it before, is put out, a request to people to send us names of people that they would like to see on.
Yeah, I liked when we did that last time. We got a lot of feedback.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of it was like applicable feedback too. Yeah. Like you'll have occasional like people that say, "Oh, have LeBron James on or have President Trump on," or stuff, things that aren't really feasible or practical for us.
Which would be cool to eat any of them.
Yeah.
But let us get to a larger scale before I try to attack those ones.
So we did have a lot of people, like I said, that were great recommendations.
Absolutely.
And I thought, that's an awesome person that we should have on. So I kind of will extend that invitation to do that now to everybody. If there's somebody, and it doesn't necessarily have to be someone that is notable, or that you think that we would know. because we've had guests on that probably no one that listens has known, or at least, not that many people who have listened have known until the episode airs, and then they find this great individual who they now know and connect with and feel a little bit of synergy with.
I guess I want to also say, like, if we're going to talk about guests and like who's qualified, who's not, there's nobody that's not qualified to be a guest, in my opinion. If you bring something to the table that I don't know about, or you don't know about, or that you know more than us about, like, that is a qualification. Not to say you're going to be the very first choice, right? But if you have somebody that you work with that does an incredible job of explaining something, and you think that they can change that from just what you do, but like to help somebody else grow, I don't care. They don't have to be, professional athletes. They don't have to be multi-millionaires. They just have to be successful.
Yeah.
And that can be just at life.
And what is your working definition of success?
Right.
It's going to vary from person to person.
Absolutely.
So I feel like if the definition of success is not something tangible or concrete that you can really quantify with any dollar value or anything like that, I feel like the people that we have on should be as diverse as the meaning of success itself.
Right. I agree. Absolutely.
I mean, so if we have a diverse definition of success, we should have a diverse populace of people that we
absolutely
are able to bring on, which we have.
Yeah. I think our guests to this point have been, I don't feel like we farmed them. I don't feel like we've like combed through. Like literally we talk about it for a second and it's like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. And they've all turned out to be really good representations of what we think is successful.
I mean, I felt like me personally, I had, I shouldn't even say a little bit. I had at least a handful of very, very specific takeaways from every person that we've had on. Because sometimes when you listen to a podcast, it can be very general and there can be so many things, not necessarily in an overwhelming sense, but like if it's a success podcast and somebody talks to you about hard work, like that's very cliche and very, immeasurable. Like, what do you mean hard work? I do work hard. Hard work with what? Like in what regard? Like, give me something that's applicable that I can actually take with me, put into practice, and immediately or somewhat immediately get some returns on investment there. Like, what's a specific nugget that I can take away? The analogy that I've used on previous episodes has always been like the coaching thing.
Yeah.
Like when you go to the coaching clinics and you sit in on a presentation on the 3-4 defense and you always are looking for something to take away. It's not going to be, you're not going to go into one of these, these defensive or offensive presentations as a football coach and completely revolutionize and change everything you do scheme-wise.
Right.
But you may see one thing or one specific look, X and O-wise, that you think, I might want to try to install this and see how our kids do.
Right. Because
we play a lot of like spread teams, so maybe this defense against this spread look would be beneficial. So you just try to take one thing away. And with our guests, I feel like, it's very easy to take a lot more than one, but they were very specific things that I'm like, you know what? I want to take that with me. Right. And I feel like, don't you think you could do that with everybody, though?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something that's ironic that you said that, actually, because that's something that I've been doing not since, I can't even tell you when I started, but in the last couple years, I've been trying to take away things from every interaction with somebody.
Yeah.
Like when I have a conversation, I don't like to just have open-ended conversations that were meaningless. Like, not to say that I don't want to have a conversation with somebody because there's not meaning.
Yeah.
But I try not to have those, meaning that every conversation I have, I try to be invested in to the point where there is meaning either from my side or I take something from their side.
Yeah. And that's like active listening is so big with that. Like, I don't want to have conversations with people and
let it come in here and out there.
And I do that sometimes because I have preoccupation with something else. And that's kind of going back to, I can make a connection now that I've said this out loud. I can make a connection to the one episode where you and I talked about having conversations with people and needing to cut the conversations off and being confident enough in yourself and in the way you come across to tell people, hey, I got stuff to do. I can't sit here and, bullcrap with you for an extended period of time because I got to do this.
Right.
And I think that it's important to have those conversations, not only for time management purposes, like we spoke about, but I see also now because if I'm thinking that, gosh, I hope this conversation hurries up because I got something to do, I'm not going to be an active listener in the conversation. Probably it's not going to be of any benefit to either of us.
Yeah, you're not, because at that point, once I have that point, and I've had it a lot actually, when I get into a conversation with somebody that they want to ramble, and not that I don't want to hear them talk, but I'm busy. Like there's something going on and I don't have time. You just do that filter thing where you just allow it to flow in one ear out the other, and you continue what you're doing. I feel rude because I have no idea. Like if they come up to me 3 hours from now and say, "Hey, do you remember when I said this?" and I'd be like, "Nope, I haven't the slightest clue," and I don't want that. I would rather cut it short. Hey man, let me give you a call tonight, or call me tonight.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk about this then, because right now I got to get doing this, that, or the other thing.
Yesterday I was trading a client and an athlete, and I had someone who is a nutritional client, and he came up and said, "Hey, I'm going to be in the gym, training. Let's touch base while I'm there. Sit down for like 5 minutes and kind of check in briefly." I said, "Okay, sounds good." Well, he was leaving, and I saw him packing up his bags. And I went over to him, like right after my athlete had finished up her set. And I walked over and said, "Hey, you out of here?" And he goes, "Yeah." He said, "You're busy, man." He's like, "Just give me a call tonight. We'll just chat for like 5 minutes." And that was awesome because that's what I need. You know what I mean? Like I need that courtesy of like, "Hey, you're busy right now. That's okay. We'll talk in a little bit."
Yeah. And as long as we, and I don't mean you and I'm just saying we as people are receptive to that and hold up our end of the deal. Like if somebody's going to like, give us the courtesy to recognize that we're busy, recognize that you're preoccupied or you're involved with something, and give us the time of day to touch base later or whatever they needed, and it'll be later. I think it's our obligation as humans to reciprocate and touch base back.
Yeah, man, I have to put a flaw out there. A personal flaw is I do that on occasion.
Me too.
I will say, "Hey, man, I'll touch base with you later tonight. I got a ton of emails I got to get through. I got to finish up with these clients here at the gym. Got to go home, do a ton of emails. After I'm done with those check-ins, then I'll give you a call."
Yeah.
And
then I go
sure enough, I forget it. And it doesn't happen with regularity, but I realize if it happens once, that's one too many times for that to happen.
Yeah, and what I've been trying to do is at least send a text.
Yeah.
Hey, it's getting late. I have to get to bed. Call me tomorrow morning.
Yep.
And then at least at that point, I didn't forget about you, but I still had to push you back some.
To be fair, I've gotten better at that by doing the exact same thing, where I'll text someone and say, "Hey, just wanted you to know I didn't forget about you. I just ran out of time, and I got to be up really early tomorrow morning, and this conversation may not be very thorough enough if I'm tired and not able to like really go through stuff that I want to get through with you, so I will call you at some point tomorrow."
Yep.
So it's kind of like, just like we spoke about before, it's very it's an experience thing that you need to know how to handle that. And I'm pretty at least I like to think that I am pretty self-aware of what I do well and what I don't do well.
Yeah.
So when I'm cognizant of something like this that I don't do well, I need to make sure to put in like an affirmative action plan where I'm going to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
So this is kind of me manifesting that out loud to everybody, saying that I'm going to try to make a better effort. I don't want to say to cut conversations short, but make sure that conversations are meaningful and impactful and necessary.
Yeah.
And then if they are of that quality, or if they can't be of that quality and I postpone it, I need to make a conscientious effort to make sure that my end of the deal, so to speak, like you said, gets upheld.
Yeah, exactly. And I think if we do that, if we all do that, everything just seems to flow better because everybody's on the same page.
Yeah.
I think it's important.
I think sometimes you see that in life, everybody's busy.
Yeah.
Like that's, whether you think it's good or a problem with our society, it doesn't matter what side of the fence you're on. The fence has been established that everybody is busy.
Has a level of busy.
And everybody thinks that they are the busiest person in the world too.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
Everybody you talk to says, "Oh, I'm so busy. I'm so busy. I don't have any time." And the ironic part is that I would like to say that, here I am criticizing people that say that they're the busiest, but I feel the same way about myself.
Absolutely.
Like, I think I'm the busiest. So we live in this busy world, and I feel like it's funny because everybody understands how busy they are, but yet they're not really conscientious, or at least they don't appear to be conscientious or considerate of everybody else being busy. So like you'll have people that are at the gym complaining about how busy they are, and they know that other people are busy, or at least they should know that other people are busy, but they'll be the first ones to come and monopolize your time with a conversation.
Yeah, with the pointless conversations. Even.
Yeah, something that's not beneficial.
Yeah. It is what it is. That sometimes, like, you're gonna have that, but
I have a roommate in college that I've lost. I don't want to say lost contact with, but I just haven't spoken to him in years. And this should be a reason for me to reach out and see how he's doing.
Yeah.
But whenever we would be talking, and he did this not just with me, but a couple of our friends. Whenever we would be talking, he would always say, like, if the conversation was just like nothing productive, he would always say, "All right, well, I'm not getting smarter from this conversation. Bye." And then he'd hang up the phone. Like, it was instant. And it was funny because he would do it every time. He'd say, "This conversation isn't making me any smarter. Bye." And just hang up.
I kind of like it.
And it was great because it was like I said last week. I think it was last week how I saw that tweet that said, "I wish that we could get to the point where it's normalized within society to tell people I don't care and have it not be rude," and just end the conversation there. But I understand that there's some semblance of societal norms that you need to adhere to as far as like how you treat people, how you talk to people.
Right.
And I don't want to be disrespectful to people and cut them short, because sometimes I have to put it in the position of the other person and recognize that, like, they don't have, 50 coaches. So like me, I might have 50 athletes that I train at the gym, but that person only has one coach. So with them, it's a one-on-one relationship. Whereas with me, it's like 1-on-50. And I have to be very, very respectful and understanding of the fact that that person, when they talk to me, that's their only person that they're communicating with as far as what they have going on.
And that's how you want it.
Yes.
You don't want them to have 5 different people, because then you end up with somebody giving them bad advice, and it makes you look bad.
Sure. And I need to be, and I've been kind of adamant about this from the beginning, and this isn't just a coaching thing, this is a life thing, is not biting off more than I can chew. And if I ever get to the point where I'm not giving clients what they deserve, then I would hope, number one, that people would tell me. And number two, I would definitely need to do some, like, I don't want to say soul searching, but some professional reassessing.
Yeah.
To figure out, like, like it would be like you, because, you could make the family analogy. Like, you got a lot of people that you need to make happy. Like, obviously, your daughter, your wife, your other immediate family members, and then yourself, because that's part of it.
Right.
Like, you can't make everybody happy if you're not really recognizing or being considerate of what they have going on too.
Right.
If you're just thinking about your gym progress. So, I mean, I'm kind of the same way. If I just think about my time, then I'm not going to be recognizing anybody else's time.
Right.
Like, it just, the whole thing just seems, like I said before, it just seems weird that everybody is so busy, but yet they seem to forget that everybody else is busy too. Like, they think that they're the only person that's busy. No one else is dealing with it. But I think the same thing could be said about any emotion, really.
Yeah.
Like, if you had a bad day, like, nobody's
Nobody's ever had that worst of day. Yep. Nobody's ever as tired as you. Nobody's ever as sore. Nobody is ever as broke.
Yep.
And
then when you go into, like, tragedy, like, everybody's been through stuff.
Yeah.
Everybody's been through stuff.
Absolutely. So what do you think about having some repeat guests? Like, we've already done it once, but like there's a handful. I mean, I would like to have them all back on again, but like right off the top of my head, there's like a handful that I would love to dive back into conversation, because like with Shannon, we had her on for 2 consecutive episodes because her story was just so incredible. But all we not, and I don't want to say all we got, but what we got was her story. I think it's time to learn some more from Shannon, because like I have since then started talking to Shannon, and her training techniques and her level of ferocity in the gym is incredible.
And for those of you that aren't familiar, Shannon was on, like Justin said, 2 previous episodes, and this is the same Shannon that you heard earlier in our Beast Mode Baking commercial. But yeah, I would love that, and I would love to have some additional guests on a second time too, because I want to see what kind of growth they've had since the last episode.
Yes.
Because that's like one thing that you and I always try to like convey to people and be pretty transparent about, is how we change.
Yeah.
Like week to week, month to month, year to year, like things that our mentality on things has been different. Like our mindset towards certain things have changed. And it would be interesting to see our guests who spoke with a lot of conviction about the things they believe in, the things that they're doing, and their life goals, and see like, what have they accomplished since then? What have they done since then? Because I would like to know.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I have up and down periods where I feel like very productive and I feel like I'm accomplishing a lot and I'm headed in the right direction. And then other times I look back and think, you know what, maybe I didn't handle this situation as well as I could have, or in not just an acute situation, but like a chronic situation, like training people over the course of 6 months. Like, did I make a lot of progress like I should have, or whatever? So it'd be interesting to see if other people go through that like success and failure dilemma,
like the peaks and valleys.
Yeah,
and where their journeys are.
And don't you think that that's something that's individualized too, with every person having the peaks and valleys, but not necessarily recognizing that other people have those peaks and valleys as well?
I'm super guilty of it. Like,
especially successful people.
Yes.
Like when they see someone, or at least people that appear successful, like we've talked about it before with like social media. Like when you go on Instagram, everybody looks like they're killing life.
Yeah.
And they're doing awesome. And they're like, you know, making a ton of money, and they're loving their job, and they're driving a nice car and being very successful in all avenues of life, where realistically a lot of them are only painting the picture that they want you to see.
Yes.
You know, there's no transparency there. And, you know, I'm kind of the same way. Like, I don't want to be negative on social media, so I don't just go post things about how, you know, the bad things that happen in my life or how frustrated I am, because, you know, some of it is personal, and then realistically I do try to paint a picture of success. So maybe I need to become more transparent too. But regardless, like I said, I think it's something that everybody goes through, but not everybody recognizes that everybody goes through it too. So
I'd have to agree with that.
Well, I think that's a good place to wrap it up, man.
I agree.
We're right on that time limit. So
yeah, so anybody wants to be a guest or thinks they have something to bring to the table, or somebody, maybe you have that person that is shy, but of super quality.
Yeah.
Like they don't. I love the people that are like way successful, way intelligent, have a whole bunch of stuff to offer, but they can't do it on their own without being pushed.
Mm-hmm.
Push that person to us. Push that person to do it, or just we'll call them out.
Yeah.
Let us know. We'll call them out.
I think I'll post an Instagram story asking for people to give us some names that we can maybe sift through and see who we want to bring on, man.
Yeah, I'm excited. We're like what, 26 episodes away from 100? Just saying.
Yeah. What is it? 74.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 26 more weeks, and
we'll have to plan something for 100.
Yeah.
I don't know what, but we'll have to plan something.
That'll be fun.
So that's another thing that we're verbally manifesting over the air, is planning something for episode 100. All right, guys. So with that, we have come to the end of another episode of the Chasing Dreams podcast with Charlie and Justin. This has been episode 74. We are so grateful for every single person that continues to get on here every single week and listen to us ramble. So hopefully we will hear back from you next week as well.
Unbreakable, unstoppable, I'm pushed to the edge and take it all. I'm born to be untamable.